All right, so I made another little video, but I messed up and it was such a bad mess up. I don't want you doing what I was doing. So I figured out a couple of things since the first one. I figured out how to change these increments down here. And it's for whatever reason, I don't think it was always like this. It's tied to the grid lines. So it used to be you could have grid lines that weren't numbered. Maybe those are the minor grid lines now. But if you want to change these numbers down here, you go to Edit Chart, Customize, and then go to grid lines, decide whether you're doing the horizontal or vertical. I'll see if I can fix the vertical ones up, but I want to show you I could also switch to horizontal, but they're all right. So the way this is done, it's really bizarre. See, it says 7 grid lines. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You would think you could decide what the space is worth. Like, are we counting by 2.5s like this? And I could put in 2.5s, or counting by ones, but no, it's the number of grid lines. So I'll just let me try 10. I think that sounds like a nice even number, but it gives me this, which is not helpful. 9, is that any better? I mean, you could do some math with this in your head, but it's almost easiest just to guess and check. I don't really like the 2.5, but it's about as good as I can hope for right now. So now I'm going to move this to a different sheet. Click here, go to move to own sheet. Let's see if I can get that out of the way. Now I have 2 tabs down here. I've got chart 1, which is nice and big, and then I have sheet 1, which is back where I was. Now I'm going to create a velocity graph. And the initial velocity, I'm just going to put in 0. And as I go down here, I'm going to calculate it as change in position over change in time. The change in position, since I'm going 1 floor tile at a time, whoops, I need to start from the top. 0, 0. Okay, type equal for my formula. My position is always going to be 1 tile at a time. There is a weird thing I've got at the end of this, but generally it's 1 tile at a time, and each tile is 0.305 meters. So I'm going to do 0.305 for the distance traveled during each interval. And I'm going to divide that by the time that's elapsed. That's going to be different because as this card's moving, it's going to cover those tiles in different times. The elapsed time in the last interval is going to be this number minus that number. And so there we go. That's the velocity. Now, it's not the velocity at this time right here. That would be, if I had to guess, the velocity between time 0 and this time. To get this to work out right, we'd have to have a whole other column of intermediate values, and I'm not going to bother with that. This is going to be good enough. But maybe you see what's going on there. I'm only dragging this. I dragged it a little too far. I'm going to get rid of this one. Delete. So my problem right here, notice how these numbers go up and up and up, and then they start to go back. So it's going, maybe I need a more robust formula. Yeah, let me just copy this down. So I'm still getting positive values. They're smaller, but it looks like it's going forward slower. And what the car is really doing is it's going backward. So let me back up a step. I'm regretting what I did a second ago. Instead of putting in 0.305, I'm going to do equals the current position minus the previous position divided by the current time minus the previous time. And now when I copy this down, I've got some negatives at the end, which I should have because it's going backward. Position is increasing, then position decreases. All right, so this is a mostly good velocity graph. Everything's a little offset. The velocities are really tied to like half of a frame before, or half of a tile before where they are. So I need to insert a chart, just like last time. Hopefully, ooh, not that one. and it thinks I want a line chart, but I don't. Scatter. It's chosen all these data sets for me. So, oh, and it's also chosen a data range. I don't know why it's doing that. I don't like that. What I want to do is I want to enter X and Y values. Let me try that again. Wonder if it has to do with where I've clicked. Let me just click over there and see if it does the same thing. Oh, yeah, that's a little better. It's suggesting a column chart, which is kind of its default. And now it says scatter chart. And I just want to move this thing over so I can put in my x-axis. Oh, come on. Which is times. Okay. And notice how I put that down in series. Hopefully it'll do what it did last time. If I add another series, it'll pop that up to the x-axis. Let's see. So this is velocity. Hey, it worked. All right. Now, sometimes you can just select even the headers. So I could select this up there and it might actually calculate things correctly. I mean, it might actually label my axes for me. This is what it looks like. It's going to get messier and messier as we go from velocity to acceleration. We can talk about why that is, but I don't want to. I just want to show you how to do it right now. So let's see if I can do this a little faster. I need to label my axes. So the titles. So the horizontal axis title, that's time, seconds. The vertical axis title is velocity, meters per second. And the chart title is velocity versus time. Looks like I think I could do better than 0246 down there. So see if I can remember how to do that. That is grid lines. And I want to do horizontal axis. And the major grid line count, I'm going to go from, let's see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know if it's having a fifth one over here. Let's try 8 and see what it looks like. There, that's better. And for the heck of it, let me add some minor grid lines. I want to put 3 in there, I think, if I want to divide it into quarters, or I want to divide it into tenths, I'd put 9 in there. Ooh, but then I need to make my major grid lines a little thicker or something. I don't know. I don't know if that was an improvement. So let me undo that. I'll put in 3 minor grid lines. And over here, why don't I just do that with the vertical axis too? I'll put in 3. So it divides it up into quarters. All right. So this graph, I'm going to put on its own page. So now I've got sheet 1, all my data, chart 1, position versus time, chart 2, velocity versus time. And I'm going to stop this video and then I'll do the acceleration versus time separate.